microphone, and that's the golden rule. Nobody can hear. So I just said I welcome the 10 people on screen and Councillor Steve Hastings, which is back in the chamber with us, which is very nice. Thank you all for attending tonight's Isle of Wight Council Cabinet meeting. I move on to item 1 on the agenda, which is to confirm as a true record the decision of the meeting taken on the 25th of October. Do I have somebody that, can you all prove they're a true record? Thank you, Paul, and seconded by Councillor Love. All right, I'll just take 10 minutes to sign the minutes. Well, thanks to Sarah for producing such superb minutes. Thank you. Could I move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is declarations of interest, please? Any? None received. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 3 on the agenda, which is public question time. There's no one up in the public gallery, and Okay, there's no one in the public gallery, so I will move on now to a written question that I have received. If you will indulge me while I read it out. So this is from a P. Coulsant to the Leader of the Council. Please could you explain why there's been a delay in completing the sale of the Council's Peer Street site in Sandown, and whether the contract of sale requires the buyer to provide public toilets as outlined in the planning application approved in June 2020. The response is the marketing of this development opportunity was concluded in early 2021, and the preferred bidder was the developer whose proposal, including the re-provision of public conveniences, was within his scheme. Unfortunately, there have been technical issues relating to the conditions within the planning consent and works required to the public realm adjoining the site that the council needs to resolve before solicitors can proceed with legal documentation. Several departments within the council are working jointly to bring this matter to a conclusion as swiftly as possible. And I think we all hope that that happens very soon. So thank you very much. There being no more, I will move on to item number 4, which is the chairman's announcement. So just to say that I went to an opening yesterday with Councillor Jarman and Councillor Carl Love, which was the opening of Green Meadows in Freshwater, sort of an extra care help facility, which is absolutely outstanding. It was rather a lot of money that was invested in it, but actually that is giving a really secure and wonderful place for up to 75 residents to live, thus freeing up more homes on the actual open market for more families. So that's absolutely incredible. I also attended Carisbrooke Castle today to lay a cross. And that was a very beautiful day and poignant. And I'd just like to thank everybody that put together. There were so many children from schools across the island, and all the Sea Cadets and everything. It was absolutely wonderful. So, and also to congratulate the team, Chris, and everybody on the 5.8 million of the Levelling Up Fund for East Cowes. And I know that. Councillor Love is particularly excited because it's in his ward. Councillor Love, did you want to say anything?
I think I think it's really important to thank everybody who's been involved with this, putting together this bid, and particularly the efforts of Chris over here, Chris Ashman, for his work that he's done on that. And I think it's an exciting project. It's by no means yet completely defined in everything that's going to be done, but it gives a great opportunity for the island to move forward together in partnership with businesses, and going along to the awards ceremony for the Queen's Award for Industry was absolutely amazing, and again it brings a sense of pride to the island and really puts the island on the map as an employer for the future and for future investment too.
Yeah, I did forget to say that I'd gone there actually as well, and that was pretty tremendous actually for them to win that. I think they were only one of 16 organisations, businesses in the whole of the South East region to receive that accolade, which is absolutely incredible. So yeah, it was a lovely hour, even if you did get me lost in the building. But anyway, won't go into that. So we move on to item 5 on the agenda, please, which is the report of the Cabinet Member for Strategic Finance. This is Councillor Chris Jarman, and I note that the scrutiny was noted. So, questions for Councillor Jarman? Jeff, okay. Councillor Brodie.
Well, only if no cabinet member wants to go before me, but I'd just like to ask a question as to whether this administration shares my concern that there isn't the resource within the scrutiny side of this local authority for them to have a serious examination and drill down into performance and finance information that is presented to this cabinet. I know you'll all look at it behind the scenes, but the scrutiny committee get it about a week before their meeting. It's normally within a packed agenda. Their comments are obviously by necessity limited. The policy and scrutiny committees, which only meet quarterly, have very limited time to ever either have it on their agenda or to look at it. I just feel that it's become almost like one of those agenda items for cabinet and for scrutiny that is just on the agenda for the sake of it. There is really important information in there. And will this administration bring proposals to the annual meeting in May to put some real resource into scrutiny on this council, which has been absent for so long? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Jonathan Bacon.
Thank you. I was going to make a quick, brief comment, but it sort of relates to what Jeff has said, and just to remind people of something that was noted at scrutiny on Tuesday. It doesn't deal with resource as such, but I did comment on the fact that in some areas the range of measures that are presented are quite limited, and as this report notes, our new corporate plan is extending the number of measures that will be put forward so as to assist the scrutiny process. I think mine area currently has 3 and it's going up to 10 or 11, for example. So while that obviously doesn't deal with the resource issue, I hope that shows a move in the right direction, in that we are trying to make more information where it is readily measurable available to members and the public.
Councillor Jordan. Oh.
Sorry, Chair. I welcome what Councillor Bacon says in terms of, you know, the wider range of information as a result of the corporate plan, if that's agreed next Wednesday. What I'm saying is that we don't have sufficient resource. We have a part-time statutory scrutiny officer, one of the 3 democratic services officers of this council, and I remember a time when there was about 6 or 7, one of those has some association with the corporate scrutiny committee. I just don't believe that you're doing true scrutiny on this council. There hasn't been proper scrutiny on this council for a very long time. And I wonder if you will be prepared to put resource into scrutiny as part of your next budget in readiness for the next financial year. Thank you.
Councillor Jordan.
Comment really, Chair. Thanks, Jeff. Just really remind all of us that we short months ago were, if not criticised, commented upon on our lack of forward plan. We've altered that. Got a big thick document now. which automatically increases the demand of scrutiny. And one of the first things we did, I'll remind us all again, one of the first things we did was to go to reverse proportionality. And the chair of scrutiny sat with us tonight. The other side of the chamber controls scrutiny. And I understand what Jeff's comment is about the resource of staffing. Normally outside of the remit of us operationally, except putting in resources, in other words, finances to enable increased staff. I would just say, if I could have that in some of my policy making team up at the PFI, I'd be very, very happy. So I think as well as understanding that we've done what we can, we've given the other side of the chamber the management of scrutiny. We've increased our workload, which increases scrutiny's workload, but I'd like some staff as well, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Jarman.
Chair, I think effective scrutiny of this council is essential. And I think we have the deputising chair of scrutiny who's here with us this evening from the other night, and indeed the normal chair who's both here. And I think what we should do is invite them to take on board what Councillor Brodie has said, and if they have suggestions for how that might be enacted, we should invite them to make a proposal.
Yeah, do you want to speak? Yeah. Councillor Quirk.
Giving reverse representation makes no difference when you've got exactly the same number of members on both sides of the chamber. It works out to the same numbers. And actually, then putting in your own guy from Houck, or Hubwalks rather, and not Houck, then biases it. So I think there's a degree of misleading information there. In terms of corporate scrutiny and the other scrutiny committees, the support is under-resourced, and that's not something that the corporate scrutiny committee has within its gift to address. That's something that Cabinet has within its gift to address. But with the resources that we have, we are trying to do the scrutiny that we can. The late arrival of some documents makes it hard to scrutinise yeah. I don't know, well, it's still the case. It hasn't changed. So, you know, you haven't improved that bit, and I hope you do, and I hope you can, because to do good scrutiny, you need time to actually drill down through the information, and you need then time for the officers when you ask them questions, then time to find the answers and come back to you. And so, you know, scrutiny is good. It should be a critical friend. It shouldn't be the Cabinet in opposition. It should be the critical friend that's trying to improve and help and move in the right direction so that we can actually do things.
I remember that too, Councillor Quirk. I absolutely do, when I was trying to help out with the floating bridge in 2017. So yeah, I remember that. Okay, so we will look into that, into the resource issue as part of the budget process. I'm assured by the Chief Exec. Okay, so moving on to item 6, if there's no questions on that, which is the report of the Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Education and Lifelong Skills, which is Councillor Debbie Andre. I note that this was supported by the scrutiny. Councillor Andre, do you have anything additional to add? Oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't move and accept that last paper. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Councillor Andre.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go to the recommendation and ask for any questions first, can I just do a little bit of housekeeping? Appendix 1 that is referred to in this paper on page 87, it should read that there are two grant streams for winter provision, and the grant type B for winter holiday events. In the executive summary, it is correct, but if I could just highlight that. Just to present this paper, this is a balance, the balance of a total budget that we were able to obtain for the holiday activities and food activities for to be run within the school holidays, which we have a balance left. We are allocating 21,210 to 4 providers who are actually going to be providing activities over the Christmas holidays for just over 700 children. So this is a really good news story. So it's a continuation of that funding. We don't know how much longer that funding will be going on for, but I can assure members that the funding that we have is being extremely well spent. I'm very happy, before I go to the recommendation, to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from fellow Cabinet members? You're just happy to second the recommendation? Okay. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. I did. Said that was. Did you not? You were not listening, were you? You weren't paying attention. I said that earlier.
Apologies, Chairman, I was checking.
Okay. So
shall I go to the recommendation?
Yes, please.
It is recommended that Cabinet approves the award of grants to the organisations identified in Appendix 1 to this report to a total value of £21,210. Also, in the event that a provider is unable to fulfil the funded number of places or has to amend its offer in the light of COVID, it is recommended that the Cabinet member delegates approval to the Director of Children's Services to reallocate any underspent winter half grant funding to ensure an Isle of Wight-wide offer within the grant allocation for winter, the total grant allocation of 61,150. Any such reallocations, though, will be determined in consultation with the Cabinet member. Thank you.
And duly seconded already. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. We move on to item 7A, which is the report of the Cabinet Member for Regeneration, Business and Development. There was a part here about changing some wording, I think, in scrutiny. But if you'd like to speak to it, Councillor Jones-Evans.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'm very happy to present this report to Cabinet this evening. Just had a good discussion about it on Tuesday and at scrutiny, and everyone was very supportive of the concept. Basically, I was inspired by doing some training with a local authority. It was a commercialisation, a training event I went to and online, and was very impressed by what Cornwall have done. And Cornwall have actually managed to bring in £1 million of revenue on through the last 8 years through doing this model. Basically, it's a business will come to an area, it will come up for the day, and it will come down. So it's nothing permanent there. What this does, it gives businesses an opportunity to try out perhaps their concept. So it could be a yoga class, it could be a cheese toasty stand, it could be bike hire, it could be anything, whatever fits with the location that we are putting on the list. So we're really looking for some good ideas and say to support businesses take that first step. We're a very entrepreneurial island, aren't we? So I'm sure we'll have some good ideas come forward. And it gives extra amenity to these spaces too. So, you know, you could be going out for a long walk and then you've got an opportunity to have a nice cup of tea or something, which wasn't there before. So I think it's, especially during these COVID times when we want to go outdoors much and enjoy our beautiful island. So there's many facets to this. And I won't shy away from it. Part of it is to bring revenue into the Isle of Wight Council because we do need revenue. So hopefully it will be a win-win all round. So we'll be hopefully putting this out to the market in January for this coming season, and everything will be looked at and judged on its own merit. So hopefully it'll be a pilot scheme. So just wanted to let people know this is the first time we're doing it, though we're getting a lot of support from Cornwall. You know, each site will have its own difficulties perhaps presented to us because you've got to come up up and down in one day. So really looking forward to seeing the island use more and supporting businesses to grow and flourish. So I've already been approached by people that are interested in this, so I think it's going to be a good one. So very happy to put this to the Cabinet for approval, hopefully. I just want to talk briefly, if I can, about Scrutiny's recommendation. They were very concerned that this shouldn't be done just by the Isle of Wight Council, and there should be discussions with the local town, parish, community councils. And of course, that is in there on page 91 at the top of the paper. So before the sites go out to the market, there will be discussion with the local town, parish, and community councils. So I think that's there. I don't think I necessarily need to take on board adding those words, doing it, because I think Scrutiny wanted me to put alongside town and parish council. I think it's where it's a pilot, it's very difficult to do alongside another organisation. I think the best way forward is if we do this pilot, consult, of course, find out about these sites are acceptable and will work for our purpose and for the local community. So if that's okay with you, Chair, I'd like to just leave the recommendation as it is. And shall I read it out now? Or happy to take questions?
I think we need to take questions. Councillor Stevens.
Not a question, it's actually, how can I say, reinforcing utilisation of our assets and sweating the assets, if it's not too rude a word to put in there. I think Councillor Jones-Evans has done a good job in researching and actually putting this together, so I'd like to congratulate her. And she's spot on with working with town and parish councils and indeed other stakeholders. I think that it gives us a great opportunity to actually move things forward and start to try and be positive in what we're doing on this island, to not only enrich our tourism offer, but also to enrich our community offer. And with a bit of luck, bring in some revenue at the same time, which we can distribute again in the appropriate manner out to the people that need it most in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Debbie Andre and then Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a fantastic example of blue sky thinking. And again, I do, like Councillor Stevens, I really do commend Councillor Jones-Evans. Would she agree that at this particular moment in time, that there are many businesses on the island who are wanting to start up, but don't have the right, perhaps the right facilities, and that this scheme in particular is a win-win, both for those businesses and for the Isle of Wight Council? And I know this is initially a pilot project, but I see real potential here. So would you agree that this is a win-win?
Thank you, Councillor Andre. Yes, I do agree. And I have to say, we're in a high street right now, a Newport High Street, and the Regeneration team has got empty properties, and we've been putting pop-up businesses in them. It's actually proving very, very successful to say people to try out their business. So we're actually, and at Newport and Culver Community Council, again, we're looking at doing that with supporting businesses, just so they can try out what retail's like, and it's that face-to-face, getting feedback from your customers and just knowing what it's like to operate in that way. So had some great success stories from that already. So absolutely. So this is a logical step to look at our outside spaces, and as well as any potential other buildings we may have. So maybe we should just start buying up all the high streets, Councillor Andre, maybe that's the way forward.
Councillor Paul Fuller.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This is an ideal opportunity to showcase entrepreneurial activities that we have growing on the island. We've got a lot of very, very small businesses that are just striving to grow and to show off what they're doing. And I think we should be very, very proud of those businesses that we've had, that we've allowed to grow, and the businesses that are out there that wants to grow. I think certainly with the amount of one-man bands businesses that we've got on the island, and we have a huge amount out there, this is a real opportunity for them I think working with our town and parish councils is the way forward. I'm glad that it's within the report and it's embedded within the report. And as for cheese toasties, well, I'm not going to say anything more, but yeah, thank you very much for your work on this, Councillor Jones
Of course,
Evans.
it would be Gallybagger cheese or another local cheese, obviously.
I'd like to thank you for bringing your energy and enthusiasm to this project, Councillor Jones Evans. If you could read the wording out, please.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to. So we have two options, option A and option B. I'm going to recommend option A to you, which reads to market a small number of Isle of Wight Council sites for pop-up business in 2022 as a pilot scheme to inform a more comprehensive business case for the wider council portfolio in 2023. The details of the pilot sites to be offered to be agreed by the Cabinet Member for Regeneration.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Jonathan Bacon. All those in favour, please. Thank you again, Jones Evans, Councillor Jones Evans, that's superb. So we move on to item 8 now, 8A, which is the report for the Cabinet Member for Regen, Business Development, Tourism, and the Cabinet Member for Environment, Heritage and Waste. So it's a double act, Julie and Jonathan. And it's item A, which is to review the options to identify investment proposals for regeneration of Culver Parade tourism opportunity area. This was supported by the scrutiny on Monday, Tuesday. But I understand there's an additional item, Councillor Bacon.
Well, there's a brief addition to the recommendation, which I can come to, but would you like me to just talk about the paper first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, an awful lot was said on Tuesday evening, so I don't want to reiterate everything, but the concern behind the paper was for us to retain a major potential tourist development and also retain and support our existing heritage, both in terms of environment, built environment and historic paleontology resources. Our concern was that this was not happening, and this move is therefore designed to allow that to happen. From my perspective, in terms of heritage, I was particularly concerned that we have a world-class paleontology resource and an academic potential allied to that, and I'm keen to ensure that is preserved and presented in the best way possible. Indeed, anyone who switched on the radio or the television this morning may have seen that a new dinosaur has been identified from the island, and that just shows what the standing of the island, both nationally and internationally, in terms of this area. The new dinosaur is the Bristonius simonsi, I think, probably pronounced that wrong. But I suppose, without being flippant, I'd like to say that the naming of that shows that this is not all about Sandown. It's national, it's international, it's about the whole island and doing what we can to support that collection and also do what we can, as I say, to maximise our tourist potential and our environmental potential. And I suppose I should probably say, for clarity, because there have been a few misunderstandings this week, that I'm not suggesting we put a dinosaur park on Brightstone. I picked it up when I read it. As I say, Tuesday evening got a little bit fraught. And one thing that was mentioned but rather lost, which I want to highlight and do so by actually adding it to the recommendations, is that paragraph 14 of the report refers to a desire to consult with the views of the local community and stakeholders, and that they are considered. And so I thought, just to make sure the point is clear, everyone in the room should have a sheet with a 2-line addition to the recommendation before them, which says, as part 4 of it, we will undertake full consultation with all relevant local and industry stakeholders in relation to any plans that come forward. I'm happy to go to the recommendation, but I suspect, Leader, you may want Councillor Jones Evans to address us first.
Thank you, Councillor Bacon. And I think you've summed up the situation quite nicely there. This was something that was put on our table very soon as when the alliance was formed, and something that I gave, and I know the rest of the cabinet gave a lot of thought to. And I think the site visit we took in our wellies was very, very revealing, to actually walk the site, see what it meant to take grounds away, see what it meant to take away the pine, the zoo. Then you see the land, it's wetlands there basically, and going visiting Dinosaur Isle itself and talking to the staff and seeing what opportunities there are still there. And obviously we're aware in the background a few months ago we had the petition to save grounds, and there were some very revealing comments in that from the local people about how special that place is. It may not be listed, grounds may be listed, but it's used by hundreds and thousands of people each year, and there's no paywall there. People can go and walk and enjoy, and it's such a beautiful space. You can go and have a cup of tea, play golf, or you can just walk. It doesn't have to cost you a penny. So, and we know Sandown does have quite high levels of deprivation, so having this facility is actually really, really important to the local community. But putting that to one side, looking with the sort of cold hard business head on, then I can see, having looked at Dinosaur and looked at the, I didn't go on the trip to Portugal, but I went and looked online and looked at the what they had on offer there, and I just could not see how it would fit there. The size, the type of terrain. When you drive over the downs, you look down, you can see how wet that area is, and what they're asking for, it just didn't seem to be fit for me. And so I didn't want to go back out to tender and waste more people's time, and it had taken officers' time. It's been years and years of uncertainty, Leader, as you rightly pointed out, years of uncertainty for all the team there. And at the heart of it, we had to look after the collection. That's absolutely, it's a world-class collection. It needs a really, really good home. So I think putting the sort of the museum side and putting that on that site, a new museum and a park, I just thought it was like Councillor Bacon said, it was a round hole in a square peg. So I'm really happy that we're moving on. We're still looking at a major attraction for the island, because that was highlighted by Visit Isle of Wight. That was still something that visitors wanted to see. We have got the whole island, and as the news today just proves, dinosaurs are across the whole of the Isle of Wight, so it doesn't have to be in Sandown, but Sandown has something special to offer. It really does. Beach of the Year 2019, and there was an award just last week as well for walking and cycling. So it is a really special place. We need to play to its strengths and not put something that doesn't fit there. So I'm really satisfied that we've done due diligence on this, and we will continue to look for opportunities that fit in and actually respond to what the land says and what the local people say. Thank you.
And I reiterate once again my sincere thanks to the staff that have had a pretty miserable time with uncertainty hanging over them for some years now, and that I hope that I've given them some sense of peace, that they know they're in that building for 3 years. They can absolutely plan, and also thanks to them for what they did during COVID in trying to keep the place safe and open for our residents. So my sincere thanks. Councillor Bacon, if you could read out the recommendation, please, or did you?
Is there any questions? Yes, so I hope what we've established here, that wasn't so clear as it could have been on Tuesday, is that all elements are important: Dinosaur Isle, a new attraction, and Sandown itself. So the option A aims to reflect that. Recommendation option A to 1, seek to secure an effective and sustainable long-term solution to the future of the Dinosaur Museum, including the collection and museum accreditation, either at the current or any alternative site. 2, to develop an alternative regeneration proposition of the council-owned land at Culver Parade, which reflects its environment and supports the island biosphere designation. 3, pursue an alternative site, either council or third-party owned, for the development of a new dinosaur-themed visitor attraction. And 4, undertake full consultation with all relevant local and industry stakeholders in relation to any plans that come forward. And I would look for a seconder.
Seconded by Councillor Jones-Evans. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. So we move on now to item number 9, which is the Cabinet Member announcements. I'll move to Councillor Paul Fuller first, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. You caught me before I even raised my hand. One of the things that I need to reporting on is the letter that we've had from the Right Honourable Christopher Pincher, who is the Minister of State for Housing. And this was concerning a lot of issues concerning the exceptional circumstances for the island. In summary, just looking at the letter, there are some interesting points that the Minister has made. One is about the how local plans and neighbourhood plans are absolutely fundamental to the decisions that we make within the planning committee and the planning department, and that is really, really important. With respect to the exceptional circumstances, the Minister has said the following: it will be for the inspector appointed to examine the local plan, to assess the evidence provided by the council and to decide whether these factors could amount to constraints which would prevent the Isle of Wight from meeting its full housing needs. I think what is key is that if that is to be considered, then it is important and imperative, which is what we've been saying along with members of the planning officers, that evidence is absolutely a key factor in that. One of the other issues that the Minister has raised within his letter is also about the manifesto pledge to deliver 300,000 homes annually across the country. And that is something that I've no worries a lot of people on the island. There are also mentions about the fact that for a long time now, not enough homes are being built, and the importance of the government's standard methodology for housing, which currently on the island is 686, which we, within our island plan, is trying to suppress to 486. So there is that element within it. But again, this is a letter from a politician. Again, there isn't the commitment that I would like to see in there, but it is a step in the right direction. And I thank both the MP and Christopher Pitcher for his response. Thank you. Also, in addition to this, I would like to report back one of the major planning applications that the previous administration had was for an application at Apps Heath, number 31 Ventnor Road. That application for refusal has been supported by the planning inspectorate. So planning committee who made their decision on that one made the right decision, and I would thank them for that. So there lies my report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Councillor Paul Fuller? Councillor Jordan. Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to Councillor Fuller for bringing this up. Can you hear me? Is that working okay? Yeah, okay. Thank you for bringing this up. Yesterday, I emailed both you as leader and chief executive asking you to share this letter, which you'd referred to in your report to full council next week, with the intention of circulating it after that. So I'm pleased you listened to my plea that it would be issued early, and eventually even I got it, having to read it in the local media and representing yet again the continuing problems of IT in this council that I thought you were going to deal with, but clearly not yet. The letter that you sent from the what I consider nonsensically named Department for Levelling Up, etc., because I don't know where the levelling up is when it looks to Pan and Barn. But the letter you sent regarding wishing to have special circumstances on the housing numbers, I don't believe is that helpful to many of the people who do not believe we should build anything or hardly anything on the Isle of Wight, and I think they're going to be struggling with that in the future. However, the question I have is, can I ask you why you didn't circulate this when you received it, which was the best part of 2 weeks ago? I think it would have been useful, certainly, I think there's a task and finish group looking into the island planning strategy at the moment. It would have been useful for them to have had this letter when it came in nearly 2 weeks ago. And I would also urge you, so that we can all have full information from this transparent administration, to share the letter that you actually sent to the, what they called the Department for Levelling Up then, you know, whatever it's called, or the actual letter that you send, so that we can see the exchange between you and central government. But this is a massively important issue for many islanders, both those who are desperate for somewhere decent and affordable to live, and those who don't want people having better housing. Thank you very much.
Noted, Councillor Brodie. Phil.
Thanks, Chair. So I wonder if Paul would like to comment. And I'm assuming this, although it doesn't seem to say it, that this rules out, Paul, any chance of exceptional circumstances for our council in any further pleas that we might be able to make to the government.
Councillor Jordan, my view of the letter is that the decision will stand with the planning inspector that will look at the evidence that is provided. This is what I've told members of the members that are interested, is what I've told members of the public. It is down to the inspector to make that decision, not down to the minister. And I think that what we need to do is make sure that whatever your views on future housing, whether you want more of it, whether you want less of it, whether you want more affordable housing, which is our priority as a council, that evidence needs to be robust, and it needs to be able to be defendable within the national planning policy framework. So yes, the final decision lies with the inspector, not with minister.
Should you give me an answer? I asked you for an explanation as to why you hadn't shared the letter from this Minister of Housing earlier than this morning, and only then in response to my exhortation. And secondly, will you share your original letter? Can I
yes,
have it on the
Councillor
record,
Brodie,
please?
we'll send you the original letter that I sent. And the reason why I didn't send it out was because actually I get about 1,000 emails in a week, and the priority of trying to work through those is not easy. And I'm afraid to send them out to all members, all that correspondence all the time. I get it, your task and finish would have found it useful. We wanted clarity. We were being told stuff by certain councillors and MPs. We wanted clarification ourselves, straight from the minister. There's been a change in minister. It's just been a bit of a difficult time.
Chair, are you telling me that you're having to manage correspondence with
yes,
central government?
I am,
when you've got a chief
Brodie.
executive sat alongside you who put extra capacity into senior management in this council 2.5 years ago? Because if that's the case, it's quite disgraceful, and I feel sorry for you.
You know, I manage a lot of my diary, and that's why. Thank you.
When I was making, Chair, about when we're looking at resources for scrutiny, us as a cabinet don't have those resources, as you've equally demonstrated, for setting policies for this council. It's an important point you make. I've seen your list of emails on your computer. It is breathtaking.
Thank you. I have a PA. I do. Yeah, we do. We have a PA, Councillor Brodie. I do have a PA. But what I would say is she actually manages 3 of us, doesn't she, poor girl? Anyway, I'm moving on. So, Councillor Jones-Evans.
Chairman, apologies, I did make a mistake earlier on. I said that the standard methodology for the island was 86 houses per annum. It's actually 668, and the draft island plan is suggesting 484 houses. So I just needed to clarify that.
You're number dyslexic, like
I am at the
Councillor
moment.
Fuller.
I'm
Don't ever get me to write, and certainly not pin numbers. Okay, so we move on. Julie, Arts Camp.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a few things to say. Just want to give a little bit more information regarding the excellent win for the Levelling Up Fund for East Cowes Marine Hub. Of course, you know, we wouldn't have got that at all without the backing of local businesses, town council, and our MP, and so the hard work of the team here here at the Isle of Wight Council. So the it's £5.8 million. The investment will provide a kickstart to a refreshed vision for the wider waterfront, currently in development with local stakeholders. We have got the vision, the master plans coming out there from town council and local partners at the moment. But this partnership approach is fundamental to the way this administration will do business across the island, and its success is evidence of the value of working in this way. A public exhibition setting out the plans and seeking local people's input to shaping final plans is being held in the Columbine building in East Cowes from the 10th to the 15th of December. So I encourage everyone in the locale to go and visit that, and anyone who's just interested in the project itself. So gone to the DBID, so 2 weeks ago, you would have all been aware that Visit Isle of Wight was given stamp for approval by being voted in on both the value of the levy and the numbers of votes cast as well. So that's now their they've got the second 5-year period, and hopefully I have to be a board member of Visit Isle of Wight, and I've already seen we've got a very good business plan, and we'll be reaping the benefits of the bumper summer season and seeking to extend that, and also welcoming getting our overseas visitors back and growing that in particular. Just want to finish off on the Arts Council. Obviously back in September we were announced to be a priority place for the Arts Council we're in the southwest region. We had Jonathan and I hosted a meeting last week at the Key Arts Centre. We were very excited to be able to tell them about the Alliance, and it's in the corporate plan, and obviously we've already started the work in this area of making cultural regeneration one of our flagship cornerstones for regeneration. We talked to them about various projects we had going, including our new home for the very important dinosaur collection that we spoke about earlier. I'm very interested in that because that is one of the cornerstones of what the Arts Council do. The message from the Arts Council really was think big. Don't think there's a limited pot for the Isle of Wight. We said if we ever get near what this imaginary pot is, they will let us know. So it's be bold, be brave, be visionary, tell us what you want. And we certainly took the advantage to tell them what we wanted. So see some applications coming forward, and obviously, of course, working alongside the cultural organisations that already exist on the Isle of Wight. So it really is in together. And just to finish off on the Southampton City of Culture, we'll be having a meeting soon with the leads on that. Obviously, they're through to the next round. And again, the Arts Council said, act like you've won it, because I think Southampton's got a very good chance of winning. I'm sure every city says that, but no, they say, act like you would, because actually all the work you put into this, we can still start delivering. So very, very exciting time at the moment, and I'm very happy to be part of this team that's going to deliver it. And to say it's apart from what's here at the council, it is our partners across the island that will help us to deliver this. So thank you for indulging me all that time, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Phil Jordan.
Thanks, Chair. Just one item from me. A little bit of fairly good news for many people about Floating Bridge, our ongoing saga. So you should know that the motor, this is our plan, caveat, don't laugh, caveat.
Somebody's laughing behind you.
Oh, I heard. Caveat that it's a plan, but this is what we are pretty confident is going to happen, that the motor and the shafts will be fitted on the 15th of November. that we've made some Crown modifications, which is an attempt to resolve the issue of the rams that keep failing. That will be completed by the end of November. All works and the system tested by the 5th of December. It's getting close to Christmas. The MCA require that our crew after this repair are refreshed in training. So some training's got to take place. And the MCA themselves want to inspect the vessel when it's due to be brought back in, so before it gets brought back in service. And the final thing we've got to do is adjust the chains once it's ready for service. And so the final thing is between 6th of December, the MCA, this is the plan, will inspect it. On the 7th, the training team will be briefed by the company that carried out the repairs and the modifications. On the 8th, we'll be adjusting the chains. I think that's in conjunction with Cowes Harbour Commission. And between the 8th and the 12th, there'll be crew training and familiarisation because there's a slight modification to the prows. And the really good news is, Chair, on the 13th of December at 5 a.m. in the morning, the floating bridge will be back in service. Rejoice.
For how long?
So stop it.
I have to say that's really good news, and I'm really pleased that you've left it till now to tell me as leader, so things don't get through that quickly. So thank you very much for that, Councillor Jordan. I think the whole of Cowes and East Cowes, that will be superb for the Christmas to be able to go backwards and forwards. So fingers crossed. Again, thank you to those staff that have been to hell and back for the past 4 years. Again, you know, uncertainty over working hours, jobs and everything that they've had to put up with, people spitting in their faces and the aggravation they've had. So my sincere thanks to those and the team that hopefully have brought this to some kind of conclusion. Councillor Brodie?
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations to Councillor Jordan on that. But I'm going to turn to another thing that's on his shoulders, the misery being the portfolio holder for Island Rugs. As some of you will know, not only have I the honour of being chair of the Isle of Wight Council, but I'm also chair of Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council, so I'm a bit schizophrenic sometimes. But at our meeting on Monday, we had an extensive discussion about the works that are currently taking place to the Cottons Bridge roundabout regarding traffic signals. Which was bounced onto Newport very much at the last minute with a traffic management scheme that had no input from local councillors or the community council, which will affect not only me, but my residents, but residents of neighbouring wards as well. Can I ask Councillor Jordan if he can undertake to ensure that Island Rugs in future ensure that local councillors and local councils get sufficient notice of roadworks on the island, major significant roadworks on the Isle of Wight, and will also have a reasonable period of consultation regarding proposed traffic management schemes, because it was very much the view of certainly one of the more restrained members of the council, certainly far more restrained when it comes to Island Roads than me, that Island Roads are out of control. Can you bring them into control? Can you give us those guarantees as councillors and as local councils? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. It's Jeff, it's true to say that we are under testing times. As you know, on Sunday I sent round an email to all councillors to try to explain the position of our contracts management team, which has been, my word, decimated by some serious illnesses, by an upcoming retirement and by our inability to recruit suitably qualified engineers on the island. So there is a gap there, Jeff, and I accept that, we accept that, and we know it's a problem. On your first part, we disagree with the contractor on the notification. And as you know, Jeff, I, as a cabinet member, only found out some 48 hours before you did about this scheme. The contractor relies on the fact that they told us they would be carrying this scheme out about a year ago, once that they had carried out the work, because it was postponed. It should have been a core investment period, the first 7 years. Because of St Mary's, they didn't want to do this work at the same time as St Mary's, and then subsequently St George's Way. And that I won't call it a dispute, but a disagreement, that they told us that was the next scheme. I agree with you, Jeff. It's not good enough in terms of consultation, in terms of notification, but it is a disagreement between us. We're doing all we can to manage this contract. The contract was set up, in my view, wrong in the first place as a self-monitoring contract. Other similar contracts around the country have a far bigger contracts management team, even in the maintenance period after the core investment period, and we have a small team for, in the case of Hounslow, a very similar PFI contract, a much smaller team. It is problematic, Jeff, and when you heard me speak earlier, it wasn't about your comments, and I agree with you about scrutiny, but I'll say it again. When I'm sat trying to deliver the best we can out of that contract for our island and see our resources stretched to the utter limit, it's very difficult for me to support putting resources into scrutiny. I'd like some resources into our contracts management team, Jeff. But let me just finally say, absolutely reassure you, Jeff, and we did it on the interchange. We will do those consultations. You need to be spoken to. There's no doubt about that. And I apologise on behalf of our contracts management team because of their lack of resources, that things weren't delivered in the way that we would have liked to have seen, and I would have liked to have seen. And I'll reassure you that we'll do much better in the future as and when those cases arise for you and for other councils and other areas of the island.
Thank you. Could I just come back, Chair? Thank you for that, Councillor Jordan, that, you know, for those reassurances. And I understand the difficulties you have. Of course, and as you remind me on a regular basis, back in 2012-13, quite a number of us in this room voted for this contract. Councillor P.C. Wilcox, Councillor Jones-Evans, Councillor Fuller and myself. Well, there were two people who had common sense, both ex-leaders of this council. One sat in front of me, Councillor Bacon, and the other one was Councillor Stevens. I wish I was with them, because I wish I voted against it so much. We were conned by the then administration. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Councillor Love, you want to come in very quickly?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Jordan, for illuminating us over the floating bridge. I'm sure that my residents will be absolutely delighted. Yeah, well, I'm afraid I don't think that the community will run that far, but they'll certainly be pleased that it's back. And it has been an ongoing catastrophic failure to deal with this long before now. It should have been dealt with, you know, years ago, in my view, when we first started to identify all these issues and save ourselves hundreds of thousands and millions. My question is very brief, really. Are you able to illuminate us in any way about the costs of this particular failure? What's it actually cost us? Which I accept you might not be able to, but still, I think that it's important that people understand what the catastrophic failure looks like as an ongoing
Cole, I can't give you an up-to-date because it's ongoing, and what the total cost will include loss of revenue for the period that it's been out of service. So I can get those numbers and let you have them, Cole, but I don't have them to hand. Just to say that clearly right now, as you all know, there's an independent review going on. You know that we are entering into mediation over our losses, which are extensive, and the losses of costs and revenue, loss of revenue. And that they will inform a report, we hope, for January to make a positive decision about the best way forward with this. As I've said before, if that were to mean that if the report led us down the path of choosing to procure a new vessel, that vessel would take about 3 years to procure, around 3 years. And we are faced as always with, if that were the case, if we get to January, if we decide to procure a new vessel, do we just leave no crossing there for 3 years? And the answer to that probably is we shouldn't do that, and therefore the costs that we've incurred and loss of revenue is something that we've had to do to try and maintain the crossing. That I think the positive decision for the future is still to come, but I suppose it's a final comment. We've just about replaced that floating bridge. We've replaced the motors, replaced the chains, we replaced the rams. It's a floating tub, you know, it's not really a boat as such. So we're rather hoping that with the modifications, the levels of failure will be greatly reduced. We're hoping that, but the decision is to come hopefully in January about the long-term future for this vessel.
Right, leaders left the building, so it's down to me to take over. And thank you, Councillor Jordan. Moving straight on to Councillor Love for a report, if you have anything to briefly report on. Thank you.
Just very briefly this time. The recurring theme throughout all of the reports this evening is recruitment, and one of the difficulty which we're experiencing right across the island. My teams continue to do a fantastic job in juggling staff in order to maintain adult social care to a safe and high standard. We are between 100 and 200 staff short right across the care sector for the island, and that's the recruitment challenge, which includes the independent sector. And I think it needs to be noted that the effort that I know that many of our teams have gone to, even working themselves after hours, in order to ensure the safety and safe care of people in our community. We are moving forward. So moving forwards, the integrated care systems will be swiftly moving forward in the new year, and we are still looking to form our position and response to that. And that's all that I've got to say in this particular time.
Thank you very much indeed. Very succinct and straight to the point. Any questions for Councillor Love? Fantastic. You're off the hook then, Carl. Now it's down to me then. My report is that homelessness continues to rise on the island. We have problems with the rental market being snapped up and probably even modified slightly to Airbnbs, etc., which is causing great difficulty for people that need to be rehoused. We have a change in the amount of money going into various houses at this moment in time on the island due to the cutback or the stoppage of the £20 a week allowance that was put there for the COVID-19 epidemic. What I would say is that we as a local authority, and I'm saying this not just as the Alliance administration, but I'm saying across the chamber to our colleagues, that we are pursuing the rental provider course, and
there's work being done in the background. We can't just go straight out and do it. We need to make sure that we've got a foundation in, but as soon as we are ready, we will be moving forward to get to acquire homes and to acquire partnerships with others to try and get across the piece a varied amount of rental accommodation, affordable accommodation, and to say we're going to wait and see what we can come up with. But we need, even at this stage, to get out there and start to form relationships with the private sector as well as the public sector. Indeed, our registered providers from elsewhere, such as Sovereign Southern and Vectus and others. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's that thing. The other thing is, of course, I also deal with IT and the website. We've had some problems on the website. It's not solely down to corporate IT. It's down to portals that are being added on from external providers. I won't go too much into that, but I can assure you that corporate IT and indeed the various service departments and those providers are working to bring forward positive results. I sometimes wonder why we bring things into service that fall by the wayside, but it's a difficult situation, and I will say to you, as the Cabinet Member for Corporate IT, I'm pursuing the questions that you would want to have answered in the appropriate fashion. I'm going to leave it at that. Any questions, please come forward and feel free to ask me a question. Councillor Jones-Evans.
Thank you very much, Chair. It was more of not a question such as a bit of a statement, really, but maybe if you want me to ask you a question, but it was really just so pleased that, you know, you're moving ahead with addressing some of the homelessness issues we have got, and just talking particularly about the relocatable housing, which you're going ahead with. So I think it's, you know, it is crisis, you're right, and it is on several different fronts, so we have to start fighting on all those fronts, don't we? So this is just one example of it. But yeah, we've got to get our housing sorted. So just want to say thank you for the hard work. I know you and the leader, and obviously the team here at County Hall. It exercises everyone's brains to how we're going to move forward with that, especially within our financial situation. But we will get there, I know. There's a will, there's a way.
Councillor Jones-Evans, I always welcome your input, you know that, and you know, we've discussed on numerous occasions areas that we could possibly work through and take to a positive conclusion. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to also look at all possibilities and eventualities. But one thing we will do is make sure that the island council taxpayers' money is spent in the appropriate and responsible way that you would expect us to do it. Councillor Jarman.
Chair, I know it's been discussed widely, but I'd like to echo it again, just so that everybody here is well aware of it. In your discussions about housing, I think we need to move as rapidly as we can away from the false dialogue of affordable housing as being 80% of market value, and adopt a truly affordable rating based on the figures that average island salary can support. So properties which have a rental value of £4 to £450 per month, and properties in the 120 to 150,000 are what most people might regard as within their potential to afford. I'll give you an example that we've had 2 3-bedroom properties built right on the edge of my ward, actually on the boundary with Councillor Spink's ward. Those properties, both 3 bedrooms on a major road, classed as in some way affordable, on the market now for £599. Now, most islanders might find the reduction from £699 to £599 an attractive ratio, but for most of the residents on my ward, it is pure fantasy. We have to be very realistic about what affordable means and move away, as I said, from the forced dialogue of national dictates on this figure.
I totally agree with you, Councillor Jarman, and I know that we've taken on board not just myself and the elected members involved, but also the chief exec and indeed the team through Regen and through various other officers. We've got a good team. We are still trying to create the elements and build the right profile or the right back room to take these things forward. Because as I say, we want to do it responsibly and in a positive manner. I know you're all trying to get in, but I've got Councillor Fuller as well in a moment, so you can all come back. We're not going yet. We're not going yet. But what I would say is that I want to give the reassurance that you're quite right. What's affordable on the Isle of Wight is totally different to what was affordable just a few miles away over in the south of England. And we really need to recognise that fact. And I know that we do recognise that fact. And that's where we're going. We've got to make sure that if we're talking affordable, we're talking Ireland affordable and not England affordable. Councillor Fuller.
Thank you. National government stipulates affordable housing at being 80% of market value, rental, and market and the market value. Within the draft Island planning strategy, we are looking at a target of 50 to 60%. On the island, we've gauged that affordable housing is about 62% of what is out there in the market. That is still not affordable for a lot of island residents, and I know that Councillor Brodie behind me will be totally aware of this, but that is why this is a priority within the draft island planning strategy, to get recognition of our special circumstances on the island, because people that live on the island, work on the island, just cannot afford what the market value and what the rental value dictates, particularly after decisions that have been made by central government in the last few years about what they wanted to do, which has resulted in escalating prices on the island, particularly for our young people, and also for people that want to downsize as well. You know, that is somebody else, other people that need to be considered, all within the draft island planning strategy.
Thank you, and thank you for your hard work with the island plan. You know, we wouldn't be as far advanced as we are without your efforts. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, Paul, I knew it was going to, Paul said exactly what I said. I recall in our draft island plan that we're aiming for 60%, not 8%, which is very welcome. And for me, Chair, I continue the debate about these houses, but it just identifies again that we are building or planning to build lots of houses, and we trot out the 30% or 36% of affordable that's not affordable. So we end up building all these thousands of houses, and none of them are affordable. So I welcome the idea that that we're at least going to shoot for 60%, which is more realistic, Paul, and I hope we go through. And just to reiterate, Paul, it seems to me that letters to government about special circumstances of this island are going to come to nothing and a waste of the paper they're written on. And it's very clear, as our earlier letter explained, that we've got to get on and get our island plan and get it accepted and scrutinised by the government appointed inspector. And that's the only way forward for us. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. Councillor Jones-Evans, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was just helpfully Councillor Fuller came in with the full facts, because I was just going to reassure everyone that we have done the work to show that our affordability is much more around the 60-65% mark. Of course, as you said, that may even change now. Because it's now changed because of the increased land values, but of course wages haven't kept up with that either. So we're well aware of that. But I think that's just a sort of snapshot of the evidence that we have to gather to put before the inspectorate before we can get any circumstance. So the work's got to be done because because it will be challenged quite rightly, because we're not the only authority that will be saying, hey, we're special. We are, obviously, but we're more special than others, I would say that. But, you know, we have to be, you know, hard-nosed about this, and let's see the facts and figures to back up our claims.
Councillor Jarman.
Yes, just to come back on the point that I made earlier, and thank you for my colleagues for their very keen support. I think we need to look at moving away from this percentage figure, and we need to look at what is affordable based on incomes on the island. The issue we have, as Councillor Jones-Evans said very succinctly, is we have a situation where property values are accelerating away from average earnings on the island. And we can't be in a situation where we're simply coming back and say, well, this year it's 60% and the year after it's 58% and the year after it's 55%. That's chasing a downward spiral into nothing. It has to be related to people's earnings, because those are what dictate affordability for them as an individual and as a family. Thank you.
You're quite right, Councillor Jarman. There's something that I always say, you know, when we're talking percentages, we do quite a bit in council. Put that to one side and start to talk about, if you'll excuse the expression, pound, shillings and pence. Let's talk about the currency we're using as opposed to the percentage points that we're trying to deal with. It shows a truer picture. It shows a realistic picture, and that's where we need to be. I'm just looking around. Oh, yes, Councillor Jones-Evans, come back in. It was just the third time.
It was just, I know you're indulging me, it's because the leader's not here. I just wanted to sort of reassure Councillor John, I can send in the bit from the regeneration strategy, that's one of our key performance indicators, was about what the wages are. Yeah, I think it was 2018. I mean, director's here, he's nodding away. I hope they've got it wrong. But actually, what it is in pounds, not percentage of, you know, what it compares to local authorities, actually what it is there and what we want to aim for. So that is one of our indicators that we'll be reporting on, how much wages are going up.
An absolute measure indicator.
100%, yes. And numbers of businesses that will be created, number of jobs that we're creating. Absolutely, we're giving you proper numbers, not just percentages.
Thank you. You mentioned directors behind me. I've got no wing mirrors, but is there any hands up? Can you tell me? No. We're okay. Right. Okay. Steve, do you want to say anything at all? You know, welcome back, by the way. Really good to see you.
Thank you. You're very kind, and I'll just take this opportunity just to say thank you to yourself, the leader, and others across the chamber that have wished me well while I've been out of action. There's nothing else particular to say apart from that conversation was very interesting. Clearly, it's all very well, you know, an affordable home. On the island, it's more difficult to get labour, bricks and mortar, so costs go up. And clearly, our residents simply can't afford the prices. So what the solution is, I don't know, but pleased to hear that there's a lot of work going on in the background. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, please.
It's great that the plans are going ahead, and we will put that to the inspector. That's the only way. That's always been the way that it works. So that's good, and the sooner we can get that in, the better. But there's two elements to it. There's the number that comes out of central government by their algorithm, but also there's an algorithm that defines what we say we need in terms of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4+ bedroom. And that is largely down to us to determine, and it's largely based on what estate agents are selling, not what we need. And that needs to be addressed, and the algorithm does need to be addressed pretty urgently, because we've got a couple of thousand people at any one time on our housing list. Half of those are for 1 bedroom properties. So we know we're building, 500, never more than 500 in a year. So over 5 years, 2,500. And we know now we need 1,000 1 bedroom properties. So the numbers are completely out because it says we only need 7% of the ones we build to be 1 bedroom. There's a real mismatch by the way that we calculate that. And that does need to be addressed. And I would encourage those that are looking at this to get a sharp pencil and have a look at that bit of it.
Thank you very much indeed. No, we're taking that on board as we work through, and I know that the various directors and their deputies are all working on the numbers and indeed what we do need. I'm going to bring you in a moment, Paul, but I'm going to ring Councillor Lovin and just realise that the leader is not here, so it's my field day. If I was the leader, we'd have been cut off 10 minutes ago. Carl.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think, from my perspective and an adult care, social care perspective, my crisis is right now because I need to recruit and I need houses for those people to live in because we are running out of workforce on the island. So we've got an elderly, ageing population. We need a workforce that comes from the mainland to service that, whether people agree or disagree. But we need more people into care because we can't service it from within our existing communities. And therefore we need properties right across the board which are of all different kinds in order to make it affordable and worthwhile for people to move here and the workforce that we need. We can see that migration from the mainland is still occurring and happening, and that's important. But right now, we need to move as quickly as we possibly can, and I know that there's been some discussions about how we might do that within the Cabinet and so on, but we need to do that quickly. It's not just about building houses, it's about maximising what we've actually currently got in order to address that. Otherwise, we will have the most enormous employment crisis on this island across all sectors.
Thank you, Councillor Love. Councillor Paul Fuller, I'm going to allow you in just for the last statement.
It will probably be about 3 minutes, Chairman. I think one of the things we've seen, and Councillor Quirk will be with me on this, is over the last few years, we've seen more than our fair share of 3 and 4 bedroom houses being built on the island. That's great for developers. That maximises their portfolio, and that's great. What we need on the island are more 1 and 2 bedroom houses. When you look at the housing needs surveys that town and parish councils undertake, when you look at our requests from our local residents, 1 and 2 bedrooms are necessary, not only for those people that are first-time buyers, but also to allow people to downsize. We have a lot of people on the island that are over-accommodated. We need to rethink that. One of the things that maybe we should be doing, and maybe, perhaps with Councillor Spink's committee, is looking at lobbying government for further support going into 1 and 2 bedroom houses, making 1 and 2 bedroom houses much more profitable for the developer. We've seen money coming in from government for the development of brownfield sites, which is really, really welcomed. But again, to have government's recognition of the requirement to build more 1 and 2 bedroom houses would be absolutely brilliant. And I look forward to working with the MP and also with Councillor Spink, who I know shares my views on affordable housing, and I look forward to taking that forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Fuller. I'm going to move on now, and I've let you all have a real airing on this. And I'm going to move on to the forward plan. Did I? Try it. Okay, look, we'll do it in alphabetical order. Councillor Andre and then Councillor Bacon, and then we're going to cut. Right. Go for it. Councillor Andre.
Thank you, Chair. I will be quite brief. I'd like to highlight that during the pandemic, all Ofsted inspections were suspended. I have already mentioned this, but it does warrant mentioning again that we had recently a focused visit rather than an inspection from Ofsted, which looked particularly at our child protection. And I would like to praise and thank our staff who were so willing to work so flexibly in very difficult conditions to actually ensure that our children were kept safe. And I was delighted that that focused visit did actually endorse that, which is all testament to our staff. On the education front, we have had a lot of good work going on amongst our schools, but again, unable to evidence that, not that Ofsted is the only evidence that we have, but without the inspections, it was more difficult to actually evidence that improvement. I'm delighted to say that on the 13th and 14th of July, there was an Ofsted inspection of Christ the King College. Now, to put this in context, a new head came to Christ the King in November of last year. So right as we went into another lockdown, Kevin McDermott. And the inspection from Ofsted on the 13th and 14th of July gave an overall effectiveness of requires improvement up from inadequate. But I would like to highlight that there were 3 out of 5 of the sections, behaviour and attitudes, leadership and management, and sixth form provision, that were all rated good. So that's a really good news story there. Another inspection that we had was of Broadley Primary School, who was previously rated as requires improvement, and were rated this time round on the 5th and 6th of October by Ofsted as good overall, but good in all 5 categories. At the end of Q2, the proportion of our good or better schools was 75%, up from 73% last quarter. So I would really like to commend our schools and thank them for the work that they have done. And I think it has to be highlighted as well that the schools didn't close. They were still open throughout the pandemic for the children of key workers, and also providing other forms of learning such as the remote learning. So I think that is a really good news story. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andre. Any questions, any comments for, excellent results coming through, or very good results coming through, an upward trend there, but anyone else wish to make comment? No? Councillor Bacon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm conscious on the look on your face a moment ago when you realised there were some people who still hadn't reported, and the fact that blankets have come out in other parts of the room, so I will be extremely brief. Just to say that some people may have seen a press release today from, I think it was Island Roads, signifying their support for a renewed application for dark sky status, and just to say that that is obviously coming before the December Cabinet. It's important to secure tourism benefits and also environmental benefits. It will be a great benefit to wildlife. But just to emphasise, it is not about switching lights off and things like that. It's about changing colour temperature of lights to get the formal accreditation which we deserve. I was going to mention briefly the Arts Council. I think Julie has done that, but just to say, I was a little surprised at how open they were to what could be supported. But yes, existing collections that aren't sufficiently supported and presented, such as the dinosaur collection, are well within their radar. So that is good news relating to what we were discussing earlier. And I'd just like to lastly mention something that started but never really got off the ground, which is a thing called the Biosphere in the Bay project, which tried to launch itself in early 2020, which was not a good time to launch anything. It was at that point led largely by the now defunct, not in a bad way, Down to the Coast team and project, but it is being brought back to life. I think the AONB are leading it at the moment. It is what it says, an idea to seek funding, grant funding, and support and develop the potential for our biosphere and heritage in that area. And it is potentially, I think, a very important, something that can very importantly tie in with, again, what we've talked about earlier in terms of developing all that we have that is good at Culver Parade. So thank you very much.
I think that, you know, the last thing that you mentioned, which is AONB and the biosphere in the Bay Area, etc., brings us to a positive note on what we were saying earlier with a little bit of movement with regards to our dinosaur isle and other areas of interest there. We've got a hell of a lot to look forward in the Bay Area. And I think that's the positive that I take from that last note. And I'm not going to kill it dead. I think I'm going to leave it on that. And thank you very much for that report. Sorry about missing you two out, but I look at the lead. I thank you very much. I'm chairing this, John, and I don't really need you to tell me who wants to speak. I'm going to blame the leader for leaving those two out. So let's get back to Councillor Jarman. I will allow you to speak, but thank you very much, Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chair, and for the advice of my colleagues to keep it positive. So we are continuing the work towards the budget, and I think we're also clearly moving into a position of providing greater articulation of our aims and objectives within the Alliance. But one thing I would like to do this evening is to reiterate my position that I'm very open to any councillor who wants to approach me from any group at all with ideas or contributions towards our budget planning cycle. I know we've extended a number of invitations in the past. I'd like to reiterate those this evening. We are anything but a closed book, and we're willing to accept input from any talent and any idea which is available to us, given what is inevitably going to be an extraordinarily difficult budget planning process. Thank you.
Absolutely, I think that runs through every directorate, every service that we've got in this authority. The Alliance administration is there to take on board concerns and indeed any innovative ways forward that we can do to alleviate our budgetary pressures. Councillor Jordan, I'm going to catch the number 9 bus now, yes?
Just to say, thank you, Ian. Absolutely, Chris, demonstration of, well, I know we talk about openness and transparency, we try and do it. We're attacked often for that, where people find gaps in that. But absolutely that this administration's got a door that opens for anyone to come through and talk to us about any of it, and the unfortunate event last Tuesday could have been avoided by the councillor coming and pushing open our door and talking to us about that and getting a more positive response. I'm absolutely sure, and thank you for that. It's a council, we're all members of it, the elected members, and we share this responsibility to deliver this budget for this council and for our island, and the fact that you've invited people to come and help you is a great testament. Thank you for that, Chris.
Anyone else wish to put any concerns to Councillor Jarman before I move on? Right, moving on, and I'm going to move on to the forward plan, which is consideration of forward plan, agenda item 10, and to identify decisions which need to be amended or added to within the forward plan. Councillor Jones-Evans.
Thank you, Chair. And it was just really just an observation really about the way the forward plan's set out. I'm not sure whether we've covered this before, but I think it might help when people want to ask questions about what's on the forward plan, was having the relevant cabinet member listed, because at the minute we've just got the decision-making body. And I don't know if our chief executive can assist on that. So it's a second column down. It says decision-making body and name relevant cabinet member, but we seem to have lost who is the lead member on that. I just think that might be really helpful, because then members of the public will actually know who to direct their questions to. So if that could be something that we could revive, I think that might be helpful all round. So Thank you, Chair. It wasn't anything particularly on the forward plan itself. I just counted the pages now rather than the actual items on there. We have quite a lot on our plates. But
well, we've got a very full forward plan, which is moving forward. I think that what you say is very relevant, but I'll leave the Chief Executive to come in and give comment to it.
Thank you, Chairman. I've just got a cheeky message on my machine from our Democratic Services team that tells me we're in contact with the software supplier to see if we can make that change to it. If not, we'll see whether we can do something more manual in the short term. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
Thank you. Councillor Jarman?
I'm just astonished. It is a spreadsheet. For most people to make an amendment to a spreadsheet would not need anybody to go out to an external software supplier. We would simply key them into a spreadsheet. I could do this myself within a very short time indeed. I don't understand the response, and if I could invite John just to reiterate that again, just to help me understand that.
Certainly, Chairman. Yeah, the actual forward plan is driven from the ModGov system, in which all of our reports and all of our kit is listed and managed, so that we store it and it's properly stored in library and documented for future reference as well. So it's driven by what's in the system. You're absolutely right, which is why I referred to we could do a manual system to make the changes in the short term. So we have got a system that manages all of our reports and where they all sit, and all the councils and the calendars and the committees, it all sits together, and that just drives the forward plan. But short term, not a problem to change it.
Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ian. Just to say that I know I've said quite a bit about the floating bridge, but there it is on our forward plan in January. Floating bridge checks outcomes from our gateway review that we're undertaking, and the outcome of the gateway review and consideration of options and actions arising in relating to floating bridge. We're going to deliver on it, Chair, in January. Thank you.
Councillor Jordan, thank you very much, and thank you for all the effort you put into the floating bridge, and indeed the officers that you've been working alongside. We're moving that forward, and that's good. And let's see what January brings. Any other comment on the forward plan? I'll take that as a no, and I'll move to members' question time. Councillor Jones-Evans.
If I may, Chair, and I do apologise, because I should have asked this question earlier. It was in relation to scrutiny on Tuesday. There was a question from the Shanklin Hoteliers Association that it was advised that it should come to Cabinet. It didn't actually come to Cabinet, but I was just hoping that the information that we've given out over the last couple of days and meetings, that maybe the information has been, the questions have been answered. I don't know whether Councillor Quirk could assist with that. If they haven't, perhaps we could get the information back to them to write to us directly, and we'll give them the appropriate answers. Because I just thought where that was sort of left hanging, as it were. And I shouldn't be asking questions directly of another.
No, I think you should be directing your question through me to Councillor Quirk. Thank you. Councillor Quirk, would you like to respond?
The decision of corporate scrutiny, which is in the actions from the meeting, was that the response would come from Cabinet. I think that the Cabinet will be requested to respond. So that's where the request sits. I think they will be pleased with the outcome, but they didn't actually stay for the whole meeting, so they weren't necessarily known the outcome. So I would encourage that a formal response is given to them, but I suspect what was said at the meeting subsequently will be very reassuring for them.
We have got a response we can send, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quirk, and thank you, Councillor Jones-Evans. Yes, we do have a response, and we will be forwarding it on. Councillor Bacon?
That's what I was going to say, so I hadn't had a chance to have a quick word with Julie before the meeting. There is a response is being prepared and will be forwarded as soon as possible.
Splendid, thank you. Any more members' questions? Right. Right. meeting's just about to close. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for those watching in, and thank you for those who attended in person. And as I said before, Steve, great to see you.